uphill task for me to speak here after the love Mr. Ramesh Arvind, the great actor, has got, and Kalyani Khona, who's spreading the message of love to the world. But I'm going to try by sharing my own life story. I was born on 1st September 1987. It was Ganesh Chaturthi, and I was born through a cesarean operation. The unique thing with a cesarean operation for a mother is that she can choose the date for her child's birth. And Ganesh Chaturthi is considered, Lord Ganesha is considered the remover of obstacles. So she was happy 1 year into a marriage, she was going to have a first child. But I really don't think I was really a remover of obstacles. In fact, I guess I was an obstacle. But anyway, when I was born, medical literature said, I'm going to live the life equivalent of a wooden doll. Because I was born with arthrogryposis, which basically means a rare congenital disorder where I don't have muscles in my arms and legs. There were fractures in my arms and legs when I was born. My entire body was bleeding because of that. And when my parents were called into the medical chambers of the doctors, they were told that he's going to live the life equivalent of a wooden doll. However, I was lucky to have been born to parents who decided not to really go by medical literature and decided to give me a perfectly normal life. Early in my life, when my mom took me to a disability examiner to give a disability certificate, the examiner decided to give a certificate that read 100% disabled. She had that corrected to read above 80% disabled because she felt that nobody can really be 100% disabled. And I think that really set the tone for my life. The first few years in my life were filled with operations, injections, and various corrective surgeries. And thus, I missed out on most of nursery and kindergarten. My mom used to homeschool me, and I guess by the time I entered class 1, I was more well-read than normal class 1 students were. However, to get into class 1 was an uphill task in itself because my parents had decided that they want to send me to a normal school, and I think that's the best decision they took, or maybe the second best after the decision of marrying each other. However, most normal schools, unfortunately, did not know really how to react to a wheelchair user being taken in, and they felt that he should be going to a special school. I was in Bombay then, and my mom visited at least 20 schools that sent her back saying that we cannot accommodate Nipun. However, luckily for her, there was a school called St. Mary's in Bombay at that time, who decided to see what I can do and not what I cannot do, and decided to enroll me in school. I studied in in St. Mary's till class 4th, and then we shifted to Noida because my father's an entrepreneur and he started his own company in 1997, where I enrolled in APJ school, Noida. In my early years of my normal school, even though I had gotten into a normal school, there were a lot of teachers who told my mother, let's make Nipun stay back a year in the class because his handwriting is not very readable. And she used to always tell them that if you're going to promote him based on his handwriting, he'll be in class 1 throughout his life because his handwriting can never improve. I mean, I've carried notes on what I'm going to speak here today and I cannot read those notes myself. So that's how bad my handwriting is. So I did go to a normal school till class 10th, and even though I was going to a normal school, students in the school itself did not really know how to react to a person with a disability. And thus I was socially excluded from most social engagements. And I decided to spend that time studying, and because I felt that that's something in which I can do better than most of my classmates. In class 10th, I was proud when I scored 87% and I topped my class. I was covered in all newspapers, and that's when I promised my parents that in class 12th, I'm going to be on the front pages of newspapers. And in class 12th, I managed bettering that by scoring 98 in business studies, being the country topper. And I was on the front pages of newspapers. However, life still wasn't very easy because when I started applying to colleges across Delhi University, I realized that most colleges aren't really accessible to wheelchair users. And I didn't really know what to do, and I think I took a shortcut in life, and perhaps that's the first and last time I did take a shortcut by enrolling into a private college. And I did well in that private college. I was topping every year. I actually studied in that private college for 2 years. But I felt I don't really want to study for a scrap of paper. And within 2 years, I quit that private college. And I think everybody in the world thought that I'm mad. 2/3 into my graduation, I decided to restart my graduation. In 2007, I reapplied to Delhi University. And I still remember the first day of the day of the interview at St. Stephen's College. At the interview, I was actually asked whether I would be ready to go up 1 floor every day. I had wasted 2 years and I wanted to go to the best college in the country. And I said yes. For 4 days, I did go up one floor every day to the economics classroom, which had been up for 125 years. But in 4 days, seeing my persistence, St. Stephen's shifted the economics classroom down. And that was a big moment for me. St. Stephen's was a great phase in my life. I made a lot of friends, and luckily I've made friends everywhere I've gone after that. At St. Stephen's, I also founded the entrepreneurship cell because I'd seen how my father had transitioned from an entrepreneur in 1997, where the four of us, me, my brother, and my parents used to sleep in one room, to today where he's employing 300 people. And I wanted to spread that message in St. Stephen's. And the entrepreneurship cell in Stephen's is in fact today the first undergrad society that organizes a startup fair. So it's gone on even after I passed out of Stephen's. In 2010, I passed out of Stephen's, and I didn't not only passed out with the first division degree, but I also got the first Anil Wilson Scholarship for Future Leadership Potential. And the next step I wanted to take was I wanted to study economics, and I sat for a master's degree. The entrance was for Delhi School of Economics was a competitive exam, and even though all of my classmates were studying feverishly, they used to always think that iska to physically challenged quota mein ho jayega, and assume that he doesn't really need to study. I felt that I really want to prove them wrong, and I slogged through for the entrance for 3 months, and when the result was out, I scored 52nd rank nationally, and I defeated all my Stephen's classmates who applied for that entrance. However, life was still not very rosy. 1 year into Delhi School of Economics, all my classmates were sitting for placements, so I decided to sit for placements too. And I was shocked by the lack of sensitivity of the corporate sector. Maybe I did not apply to SAP or EMC, that's why I faced that. But there was one company that actually rejected me because of lack of a disabled toilet, despite 7 rounds of interviews. There was another that actually asked me if I've ever read a book, despite the fact that I was a master's student. And this happened in 8 or 10 companies before I realized that if I really want to create the change, it's better to come from a position of power than go with a begging bowl. I decided to join my family business, where I'm looking after finance and strategy today. But I also set up the Nipman Foundation in 2012. The Nipman Foundation works in the areas of health, dignity, and happiness for persons with disability. We've advised the Delhi government, we've advised the national government. We are on the Railway Advisory Board on how to make railways accessible. Another thing that the Nipman Foundation does is that it provides wheelchairs at various expos, whether it's CII or SIAM or any other industry or trade expo. You'll find a Nipman Foundation stall that is providing wheelchairs for the disabled and elderly. This year we're going to provide wheelchairs at the Jaipur Literary Fest too. However, my pet project at the Nipman Foundation, where I feel I can create the biggest change, is the Nipman Foundation Equal Opportunity Awards that I started last year. And we've managed getting in ENY as an audit partner. We have a completely independent jury. And if you're in Delhi, please come for a ceremony on 2nd December. So through the Nipman Foundation, I'm trying to create change. However, I do feel that attitudes amongst people, even today, at times can be very insensitive. Last year, I was traveling in an airline where an on-ground hostess actually asked me, why are you in a wheelchair? It was an awkward question, and I had to tell her because I'm disabled. She made the situation even more embarrassing by saying, can you fly? I had to tell her, no, but assume your plane can, because I'm sure none of you can fly too. In March this year, I was in a situation that was even more humiliating when a South Delhi restaurant denied me entry because of a lack of a disabled-friendly toilet. A Delhi restaurant denied me entry saying that people with disabilities are not allowed inside. I was to join 8 friends who were already in the restaurant, and I was completely shocked, and I sent out one tweet. And within no time, that tweet started trending. I was on national newspapers, television, etc. the next day. And the Delhi government was also forced to set up an inquiry into this. Within a week, the Delhi government changed policies on how Delhi restaurants are to treat people with disabilities. And later in the year, I went to America in July, where I found that there's this app called Yelp that actually has wheelchair accessible filters. I came back to India and convinced Zomato to add wheelchair accessible filters too. So if you're identifying a restaurant in India, you can, through Zomato, actually check wheelchair accessible filters. And what I feel will happen is that when companies have to answer whether they're wheelchair accessible, they definitely change the attitudes on the way they treat wheelchair users too. So the battle continues, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
जैसे बारिश की बूंदों के जैसे
Nipun, thank you once again. You are indeed changing things for good and for India. Thank you so much.
In life, you got to learn to be a leader. Oof, doing a little chiropractor after jujitsu. And an Amish guy told me there's 3 types of people. Ooh, you hear that? 3 types of people in the world. People who watch things happen, people who make things happen, and people wonder what happened. Don't ever be the last one. Don't wonder what happened. So in each area of your life, you don't have to be controlling, okay? You don't want to be controlling of other people, but you want to understand what's going on. For example, if you're a leader, and you ask somebody something, don't let them not answer you. Don't let them not answer you. You want to take control of that situation and say, hey, I'm talking to you. And you can do it very politely, but if you don't do that, you start getting jerked around in life. And come a little closer, we'll shoot this a little closer. You don't want to get jerked around in life, and people will do it. Very few people you're going to meet in your life have your best interests at heart. Most people have their best interests at heart. And so leadership is also protecting yourself against selfish people, selfish intentions, or sometimes malicious intentions. So one of the things that I do, just real practical, you can try today, is when you talk to people, if they start ignoring you, and I'm assuming it's an important conversation because sometimes they're ignoring you because you're not saying anything interesting, but if you're in a conversation and people kind of fade off, you can just nicely say, hey, can we finish the conversation real quick? People start texting and you're having a one-on-one conversation with them, be like, hey, can you hold off 1 second? Let's finish this. I know you're busy and you need to check your phone, but don't let people just ignore you like that, you know? So just a little practical tip that I thought today. So, leave a comment below on the most common place you get taken advantage of and where you can become more of a leader in your own life. I'm talking about leading yourself, by the way, leading your own life. All right, leave that as a comment below.